Hello and welcome to Northeast Ohio Media Group Candidate Debates. Thanks for joining us. I'm Linda Kinsey. Today we're hosting a debate with Jeffrey Beck and Taneika Hill. They are candidates for Euclid City Council. Today we'll start by asking candidates to introduce themselves. Each candidate gets 1 minute to respond. Then we'll switch to some questions, and each candidate gets 90 seconds to respond and a minute for any follow-up. At the end, we'll allow for 10 minutes for the candidates to ask each other questions with 60 seconds permitted to answer. So let's get started. Jeffrey, why don't you start? Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, sure. My name is Jeffrey Beck. I am a 35-year homeowner in the city of Euclid, all of it in the ward I wish to represent now. I am a 30-year volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America and have helped over 50 kids achieve the rank of Eagle Scout, and we've done countless service projects through the Euclid area. About 10 years ago, I got involved with the city of Euclid. I started attending council meetings, and I've attended nearly every council and committee meeting that we've had over the last 10 years. I also volunteered for several organizations. I was vice president of Weed and Seed, which is a Southside program to weed out crime and seed in programs for people. I was on the Charter Review Commission in 2007, 2008, and I'm currently the chairman of the Charter Review Commission. The Charter Review Commission studies the charter, the laws of the city of Euclid to see if we need to make any adjustments. I am president of EdCore. EdCore is a program that it tries to help people move into some of the vacant homes that we've got through down payment assistance and to remodel those homes that need remodeling at a low interest rate. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Taneika Hill, tell us a little bit about you.
Taneika Hill. I have been a resident of Euclid for 5 years. I have been in the Euclid area servicing different volunteer events for probably about 14 years. Worked when Euclid was booming, Euclid Square Mall was open, worked there as a teenager as well as the Red Lobster there. Currently serve as my neighborhood association president. I actually started that association up. They had one that kind of died and fizzled out, and so being a resident there, wanted to get a little bit more involved and also get my residents involved, neighbors involved, I decided to start that up again. And so we worked on a couple different projects. Most of the projects have been just about energizing and engaging the residents, getting them involved, helping them to want to make an investment in their community. So one of the things we did was we developed a community garden. So this is our first year that the garden has gotten up, and it's slow. We didn't have a great crop this season, but the point was to bring people together, and so it is beginning to do that. Also working on other projects and getting our youth involved in things. Had a young man ask me yesterday if he could start a youth committee, and I think that's awesome that our youth would like to get involved. So I'm just excited about the opportunity to do a little bit more for my city.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll switch to some questions now, and Taneika, we might as well start with you on this one. The state has cut local government funds in half in recent years. Mm-hmm. How has your city coped, and what other ideas do you have?
For the state funding?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't look like we've coped very well. We are struggling to bring businesses in, struggling to provide resources for our residents there. We do have some great programs, but I think there's more. I look to just partner with the city officials, partner with Jeff Beck and the committees that he sit on as well to see what we can do to bring more funding in. If not from the government, then maybe some outside private investors.
Okay. Jeffrey?
Well, that's a good question because that affects all the cities across the state. They've all been cut. Euclid has struggled with this. We have added garbage fees. We have added lighting fees. We have cut safety forces. We laid off 3 firefighters this last January. We're not replacing police officers that retire. And it's becoming a tough situation. One of the things that I've been working on for over 5 years is to try to eliminate a shared tax that we have with the schools, which actually is illegal to do now in the state of Ohio the way we do it. And we give the schools $6 million a year out of our income tax money, and we can't keep enough safety force on the street to combat, and meet the residents' needs right now. So my goal is to bring that to the table to talk about that, to see if there's some kind of a solution we can come to with the schools that would allow us to bring more money into the city to help solve some of these issues.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with you again.
Okay.
During your campaign, what is the one issue you found that citizens want addressed, and how do you plan to address it?
Safety. Safety, whether it's just the kids hanging out in the street or breaking into cars or vandalizing different areas. Everybody seems to have different stories about safety in the city. There's a couple of programs I actually brought up last week. There's a program another city around us does called Watchdogs. And that is, they'll train the people who own dogs, so when they're out walking their dogs, they could keep an eye out for what's going on in a neighborhood, and they can alert to the police if they see anything out of the ordinary. That would be a great way to get the community involved in something like that. The other program is I like to expand out our auxiliary program the police officers use right now. If we could take some of the auxiliary officers and put them in police cars that aren't being used at that time, and just have them to patrol the neighborhoods, that will deter crime. You know, kids get in the street, and they see a police officer car or police car coming. They don't know that it's just an auxiliary behind the wheel. They'll get out of the street, and that might help things a little bit. But the real solution is to figure out our finances so we can put more police and fire on the streets.
Okay.
I would have to say, as I'm campaigning, I'm hearing safety, but I'm also hearing the youth. The youth is a big issue in our community, and it seems to be not necessarily that they're doing everything wrong, but the perception of them. They do hang out in the streets. They don't move necessarily when cars come. And I think it's just about addressing the issues. No one has really talked to our youth. So what I've been trying to do lately is put together a couple forums and different opportunities for them to come together and understand why it's important for their safety as well as the safety of their residents, for them to follow the guidelines that are set before them by the city. Most of them don't understand. They come from neighborhoods such as Cleveland, the Lower East Side of Cleveland, East Cleveland, and they come here not understanding that there are certain ordinances that we have in place for their protection as well as the city's protection. And no one has made them aware of that. One of the things that I do as neighborhood association president is when the families move in, I put together a welcome basket for them and I give them the ordinances so that they know you can park on your lawn in Cleveland, you can't park on your lawn in Euclid. Things of that nature. I believe that education empowerment is the key.
Okay. And Taneika, we'll start with you this time. What are you most proud of in your city?
I'm proud of the people. No matter what, no matter how we think about we should get things done, I believe that everyone is really proud of their city and they want to see our city do better. They want to see change in our city. And I think we've reached a moment where people are ready to get in, roll up their sleeves themselves and be a part of this change. And so even though this is my opponent here, I see his passion for something different. I think he sees my passion for change. And so just to know that we have a community there that even though we're a large suburb, we're still kind of operate as a small town where everyone tries to know everyone and get involved. So I'm excited about that. That's what I'm most proud of.
Okay, thank you.
I think what I find the most interesting is diversity. The way we've embraced diversity within the city of Euclid. We have all people from all different classes of life, all different nationalities, all different races, and we all come together, whether it's through community activities, spending time down on the lakefront as much as we can right now. We're still in development of that. But I think that's what makes me the proudest and why I love to live in Euclid. My family has been in Euclid for over 150 years. We actually settled in Euclid back in the 1850s, so we've had a presence all the way through. And it was a much different community then than it is now, but I really enjoy the way it is now. I really enjoy talking to my neighbors, and I think that's probably the most important thing that I see.
Okay. Jeffrey, how do you plan to encourage economic growth in your city, and how do you plan to retain the business that you already have?
One thing that we have not done in a while is sit down and actually talk to our business owners in our city. And I know several of them feel neglected because I've talked to them. I think what we need to do is a twofold approach. First, we need to sit down with all the businesses in our community, ask them what their needs are, ask them what their issues are, what their challenges are, and see how we can help. We can't just pay attention to, say, the Lincoln Electrics or the hose masters of the world, the larger corporations. There's a lot of other corporations and companies and manufacturing facilities and all that along Lakeland Boulevard, and over at Bluestone has one now. And I think we need to take care of them to keep them into our city. Now, as for bringing new business into our city, we need to take a look at what it would take to bring that business into our city. We have a beautiful city right on the lake. So we've got some advantages there, but we're not actively recruiting businesses from outside of our community to come in, and we need to start doing that. And I'm committed, I've talked to several council people, we're committed to getting a group of us together to actually go out and start finding some of these businesses out there so we can talk to them about what they need. And we understand that there's some drawbacks. One is our tax rate is pretty high. And that's something that we need to take a look at too, see if we can attract businesses in here by possibly reducing that at some point.
Okay. Taneika?
Thank you. Also, just like Jeff, I definitely think that we need to sit down and talk to our current business owners, not only to find out what it is that we can do for them to help their businesses run smoother, but also ask them what type of environment do you want your business to be in. I do believe that we can kind of raise the standard on some of our businesses there. I also believe that we can raise the standard of living for some of our residents. You know, I drive down Euclid Avenue, and I'm sorry, I'm congested, but I drive down Euclid Avenue, and I have to ask myself, if I was a business owner, would I want to plant it right there? And the answer, quite honestly, right now is unfortunately no. So what can we do with the area? What can we do with the people? I believe that a business owner wants to bring a business into an area that he feels is safe, that he doesn't have to worry about loitering and littering and vandalism. So I think one part that we're really going to have to do is get the people to understand that there's a different way in which we must carry ourselves. There's a different way. We must take care of our homes. We must do a little beautification. Even our business owners, you know, no longer can we have absentee landlords. You know, they lease the building out and then they stay away and they never come back and leave one of the tenants to manage it. That's no longer acceptable, because as long as we have that issue, we're not going to get new businesses to come in my opinion. But also, as Jeff said, going out and actively recruiting. I believe we have prime real estate. We have easy freeway access. We're right on the lakefront. I believe that major companies, businesses would love to put new businesses right there on that lakefront, would love to and be willing to pay the tax that we ask them to pay. But in order to do that, we first must make our city beautiful and profitable for them to be able to come in.
Okay, thank you. And where do you stand on regionalism?
Well, you know, when I think about how things are structured, and I know we just did a regionalization of our safety forces, I can't say that I'm totally against it. If it is going to make for a better city and a safer city, if us joining together with other areas that are close to us is going to save the city money and also allow us to have more forces. I get that we need to hire our own in-house and we need to have some things in-house, but I don't see a problem with joining together with other cities.
Okay, thank you.
I think regionalism is the wave of the future. It's worked in other cities. It's worked in Memphis, it's worked in Los Angeles, and it can work here too. We already have some regionalism going on right now. Some of the school districts have combined, and I see more of that in the future. We have a regional SWAT team here in Euclid now with other cities, and that's a start towards getting more safety forces to work more on a regional basis. So we have mutual aid agreements too with the fire department. If there's ever a big fire in another city, we'll go over there, they'll come over here, that type of thing. But I think that regionalism needs to be really studied and looked at. You know, everybody has their little fiefdom out there, and they really don't want to give up their power. And that's been the reason that it's gone at such a snail's pace. We recently regionalized our dispatch. I wasn't real happy with the way we did that, but I understand that regionalism for dispatch is in the future, and the county's going to go from, I think, 11 or 12 we have now down to 4. And that's going to happen sometime over the next 10 years or so. So we have partnered with one company, and we'll see how that goes. We're on a 5-year contract with them. But there may be some other players coming up down the road that we may want to take a look at. But I think that regionalism, we have just far too many communities around the city of Cleveland. And maybe that was good back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. But with the manufacturing base leaving this part of the country and some of the struggles that we face now, I think that we have to regionalize in order to maximize our efficiencies.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we've set aside a few minutes for you to ask each other questions if you like. Do you have any questions for your opponent?
I really don't. I had my big question before we started about why don't you guys cover Euclid? But no, I appreciate her passion. I've got a lot of passion too. I've been involved for a long time, and I would really like to take it a step further. I mean, we're going to have a closing, I guess, but I really don't have any questions
No.
for you.
Okay. Feel free then to, to say anything that we might not have covered that you'd like to mention right now. So go ahead.
Okay.
Taneika.
Well, I just look forward to serving my community. I believe that I have the desire and I have the passion, and I definitely respect the time and the tenure that Jeff has here in Euclid and the things and the efforts that he's put forth. And I would love to partner with him. I would like to see him continue the things that he's already doing, not just because I want to win the seat, but I just think his mind, his financial background, the knowledge that he has, every time he speaks, I listen to him because I learn a little bit more. And I think that with me coming in and really wanting to get the community involved and really serve the people and get them energized and help change their mindsets and kind of unify our city, I think we would actually make a great team if we can figure out where exactly our niche would be.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we only have 8 wards. If we had fewer wards, one of us could run at large, and then
Yeah.
we could both get up there. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, that's not the way things are in Euclid right now, and that's actually something that we are discussing on the Charter Review Commission to work with the Department of Justice to try to expand the wards out a little bit, because we have 3 people in this race actually, but a lot of races are run unopposed, and that's been an issue for a long time. We just don't have enough base of people in the small wards that we have right now to allow that to happen. But I guess I really have a passion for it. If I didn't have a passion, I wouldn't have attended all the council committee meetings over the last 10 years. And I've also spoken dozens of times in front of council for different issues that have come up and offered my opinion. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't, but at least I get my opinion out there, and I'm not afraid to get up there and talk to them. And I've developed a good relationship, a good working relationship with each council person that we've got up there now. Several of them I consider to be close friends outside of council. So I guess the most important thing is if I'm elected to office, I can hit the ground running. There's no learning curve in how the government works and how legislation works and what's the difference between an emergency legislation versus a first, second, and third reading and how all that goes. I know that now. I'm chaired the Charter Review Commission, so I actually run that sitting at the council president's podium on the days that we do it. So I've got that experience, and I believe that I would love to be a council person for the ward.
Thank you. We thank both of you for coming in. Thanks again for joining us. Please check back to cleveland.com to read stories about the debates and issues and candidates for the November 3rd election.